Thank you for joining us today for this conversation about undergraduate life at Western University. All of you have worked in or are working in healthcare or health outcomes or research around health. I'm curious if each of you just talk a little bit about the research you've been doing and what it's meant to you in your career.
Research is definitely a lot broader than people think. Like when I was first coming into university, I had a misconception that research was just like looking at papers online, writing down notes, just like an extension of studying. But it's not at all. I did a research internship for Frugal Biomedical Innovations, and it basically felt like I was working a job. We were able to design...
In a good way.
In a good way, yeah. We were able to have hands-on design on biomedical devices. It really switched my point of view by getting experience into it. It actually made me love it.
That's part of what happens in universities. You get to test out new things. Yeah. You didn't know what research was. You thought it sounded like boring paperwork.
Yeah.
It turns out it's something that's very exciting and cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of similar. Like, I came to Western not really knowing about research at all. I also did the Frugal Biomedical Innovations internship, and that one was so cool because I was actually working on a project that was going to benefit the University of Nairobi, and I've never been able to do anything like that before.
Sounds like you felt like you were making a meaningful contribution.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you felt taken seriously and respected, and you had this kind of freedom to learn and to contribute.
Definitely.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice.
Claire, what about you on the research side?
I worked at Toronto General Hospital, and the lab that I did was more on like lungs and thoracic surgery. And one of my projects that were really inspiring was I basically had to find a biomarker to preserve these lungs for transplantations. One thing that I really found impactful was how I got to see my research apply right away. Like they took a real organ, a real lung, and they actually used my biomarker to preserve the lung and make it last longer so a patient could actually use the lung and live a better life.
And like you mentioned earlier, it's not that people have a misconception as like, oh, it's boring. It's like, oh, it's just hard science, like math numbers, but it's way more than that. Like research can be applied to every aspect of life. And like you mentioned, trying to prove yourself wrong and push everything forward. It's not just science, it's humanities, arts, that kind of stuff.
All of it. These make such meaningful kind of moments in your career, and you won't forget those. Like those are really powerful. So I want to talk about Frugal Biomedical Innovations, which is a project here at Western. Can somebody explain to me what it is and flesh out for us like that?
Okay, yeah. So Frugal Biomedical Innovations, it's a program where undergrad students have the ability to work on projects that are for these underdeveloped countries, and you make a low-cost device for this certain target group that you're focusing on.
In a low resource way that doesn't cost $30,000 to replace them.
Exactly.
And will provide diagnostic tools to medical teams in places where they can't afford a $30,000 machine.
Yes.
I think another thing, with low resource, people often think that it's just for that one place, but the same device that's low resource for a place in Africa could also be low resource in a place like Canada.
Absolutely.
Or it could also be low resource in a place like outer space. The broadness of the term, people don't realize enough how many people you can actually help.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And just because we have all the resources doesn't mean we need to spend them. If the engineers can design materials or devices that cost a lot less and do the same work.
So the program was very personally meaningful for me because my dad is from Kenya. So to be able to have that ability to give back to my own heritage is super, super meaningful, especially directly in that field that I'm working on. You're able to build your skills while actually contributing to a real world problem that you value. So I found that extremely...
That's awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
I wholeheartedly, I love the idea of not leaving the patient behind, but bringing them forward through technological advancements, because that helps to increase health equity, health access across the world and in outer space when we get there, right? That's so fantastic that we can work towards a future that benefits everyone across the world through research in our own backyard.
Yeah.
All of you, I think, have had some kind of engagement with either hospital settings or patients. What about you? You've spent a lot of time in clinical settings?
A lot of time. I did a general surgery internship, and at 7 a.m. we would do rounds, and then that's when we got to see each patient, and like they were telling me all their stories and just like provide that comfort, to be very empathetic. And it really teaches you, you know, how impactful your research is when you reflect on like what you're doing and how it's really impacting these people that you see in person.
You have to have that person first soft skill of empathy.
Yeah.
Because without that, all of what we're doing is pointless. Everyone at this table here is doing their research for one reason, and it's to benefit the patient, to make someone's day feel better when they're at their lowest and you're putting on a brave face. Like I can remember on many occasions volunteering in like oncology units. Pretty tough place to be. Hearing stories of people's hardships, but you having to push through that. And I remember one day vividly, I pulled over on my way back home from a shift and just cried for like 10 minutes.
That's a good point. It's not skill-based difficulty. It's more so having that mental fortitude of being able to, come in with a positive mindset when everyone around you may be having a lower mindset, right? Because they're coming through a very harsh time, a lot of those people who are recovering.
You're seeing them on their worst days.
It's like you have to be very delicate. No matter how your personal day is going, you have to be there for other people. But when I had those interactions with patients face to face, it's like beautiful to be able to do that.
Alanah?
I honestly haven't had too much experience with patient-faced kind of experiences, I suppose, but as an engineer, getting things approved properly is so important.
All of the research that goes into validating the devices and understanding their consequences really matters.
Exactly. If there's an issue with the device because it's harming the patient has to come back and get surgery again, have to get put under again. These are real people. This isn't just a random product that you're selling to somebody. This is for an actual patient. You're trying to better someone's life, not hurt it. So definitely learned a lot about that this year.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice.
You guys are at the beginning of really brilliant careers. What could you say to someone just coming in?
What Western really showed me was that no lab really expects an undergrad to like know exactly what you're doing, and like just don't think about just like the research itself. Like think about all the other opportunities just by meeting people and having those connections.
We're thrilled by the progress the university's made on creating that environment. Mm-hmm. Our job is to create the environment. Your job is to take it up and make of it what you will.
I have never encountered a more welcoming community in my life. In first year, I had literally no skills to my name apart from like eating, sleeping, and like having a nap every so once in a while.
You had a smart brain. You're ready to go.
I appreciate that. But the research community here at Western, they see that you're eager and they see that you want to learn, and they're here to teach you. From a week until graduation, there's opportunities at every turn. It's just about putting yourself forward, even though you may not feel like you're putting your best foot forward.
Do you feel like everybody's working to make themselves and each other the best they can be?
I think so. At least that's been my experience. I feel like I've been very fortunate.
I fully agree. Like coming here and just like meeting everyone is so welcoming. Like it really does feel like a community. So I totally agree from the engineering side as well.
Well, I can attest to the engineering soft team. They're also quite the fun group of people.
Oh yeah, I think with engineering specifically at Western, it's a very tight-knit community because everyone's going through the same thing, right? So having that sense of security and people to lean on is very powerful. Like the design team stuff that I did with the Western Engineering Biomedical Club has been like an insane opportunity to be able to do that. We had a couple students this year who ran the True North Biomedical Competition, and they've actually inspired so many universities across all of Canada to build biomedical engineering clubs. And it started like right here with students here.
Alanah, do you have any advice you'd like to share?
Like get to know your professors. They will help you. I cannot like stress that enough. They have helped me so much throughout my university career, and I am just so thankful that I did go that extra step to get to know them a little bit better, because now I'm in the position that I'm in today, and yeah, it's so important that people do that.
Yeah.
We're just nearing the end of our time. Thank you so much for joining today for this great conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
That was very fun.